So here is what I was wanting to kind of talk about. I saw this post today on Facebook. Truth about Social Security. Liberals moved Social Security funds from a private trust to a public fund so they could spend it. Liberals started taxing Social Security payments. Liberals stopped tax deductions for Social Security payments. And liberals started giving Social Security to immigrants who had not paid into it. Now, I generally tend to agree with the USA. Got some pretty good stuff. But, there's some real and, there's a couple of real issues with that particular post. There's an error of omission and one of commission. So, one thing on there is technically not accurate, and another thing, probably for the sake of context, ought to be mentioned, but isn't. Right, so immediately after Social Security was passed, there was a Supreme Court case, because of course we've never done it before, and so there was real doubt as to the constitutionality of Social Security. In that Supreme Court case, the government argued that Social Security is not a retirement insurance product. It is not an enforced retirement plan, because the government doesn't have the authority to force you to make a product and then force you to buy it. Right? That would be immoral and illegal. That would have been considered unconstitutional. The government argued that it was a tax, a tax just like any other. Now, what does that mean? It means that Social Security, legally, was never allowed to actually have a separate fund, because it's a tax like any other and must be spent like any other tax revenue. That's why it goes into the general fund. It legally has to. Now, there for a while there was a separate fund, but it was unconstitutional to have it according to the original Supreme Court decision. So, yeah. The other issue, and this is the issue of omission, it does not mention the people for whom Social Security was originally designed. It was not designed for your grandparents or mine. It was not designed for you or me. It was designed for those who had lost their life savings in the stock market crash of 1929, the ensuing runs on the banks, and the following Great Depression. That's who it was intended to help. They did not pay a dime into Social Security. It was originally not intended for your retirement or anyone else's, whether as a primary or a supplement. It was not intended as a backup to retirement. It was a welfare program. Social Security is, despite everything the government says, despite everything the Republicans and the Democrats say, Social Security is and always has been a welfare program. You do not receive benefits for which you've already paid. Those who are working now pay for the benefits of those currently on Social Security. That's how it works. And that is how it's always worked. In fact, that's how it began. Let's see if I can see there. See if I can catch up to these guys. If conservatives actually want to make any real headway, then we have to stop accepting the lies from the left. We have to stop arguing according to their paradigm. We've actually accepted the idea that Social Security is something that you've earned, and therefore it would be wrong to take it away from you because you've earned it. Right? When clearly that's not what it was meant to be, ever. It was never something you earned. It was always something you paid into for the sake of those who were on the program. And then you would receive benefits from those who are continuing to work after you are on the program yourself. Right? It's a pyramid scheme. That's what it is. That's what it's always been. That's how it was designed. It was intended to be a pyramid scheme. It was never intended to be solved financially. The reason it was originally financially solvent was only because, we had more people working, or at least we had enough people working, that they were able to pay for those who were not. Now the largest generation in human history is retiring. Simple numbers, there's not enough people left to work to keep Social Security solvent, and therefore it will implode. It's just a matter of when. The only alternative is to print enough money to keep it afloat. Right? Further impoverishing everyone. Really. Well, everyone but the wealthy. Further impoverishing the poor, the middle class. Because that's who inflation hurts the most. The poor and the middle classes. It doesn't hurt the upper class very much. In fact, the upper class often benefit from it. Because they know how and they have the resources to execute those strategies. So if you want to, let's say, prevent the government from going under, basically, without massive hyperinflation, then you have to get rid of the left's idea of Social Security and argue from a standpoint of truth. You know, the truth that it is certainly not a retirement product. It is a welfare program. Now you can argue whether or not we need the whether or not the welfare program is appropriate. It would not be appropriate for everyone to receive. It is a welfare program. Right? But that's why everyone pays into it, because the government in the 1930s, the FDR administration, wanted everyone to want to make it permanent. Because, hey, I paid into it, so I want benefits too. And that is why we have it still. So anyway, I don't know what your thoughts are on the matter, but it seems that what we're seeing, what that post PPUSA, well-intended though it may be, is still arguing from the paradigm that the liberals have set up. And instead they need to actually reject that paradigm. Because it's a lie. That's basically it. It's a lie. They need to reject the lie.